Well, good morning. We made it through the night on the train. It was a little interesting. Our neighbors slept really well. We've been awake since 2.
Yeah, there was some pretty
A lot of jolting.
jolting going on.
There was no horns, which was happy.
Yeah.
There was no noise from the whistle, the train whistle. So anyway, our room has been transformed back into a bench seat, and we have breakfast. We thought we'd show you that. All right, so we have, I'm not sure why there's so much bread, but there is a croissant and juice and meat and cheese, and that works. So today is our last, no, we have tomorrow?
Yeah,
We have tomorrow. So today we're going to be seeing Valley of the Kings and then checking into a hotel.
and I think also the temples.
Yeah, the temple of the Karnak.
Karnak, and there's another temple too.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what we're seeing, but we're going to bring you along. So let's go.
We disembarked the train in Luxor and got on the bus waiting to take us to our first destination, the Karnak Temple Complex. Construction began here about 2000 BC and continued until around 300 BC. It is enormous, and they believe about 30 pharaohs put their mark here. In addition to the temples, there are chapels, obelisks, and pylons. There are about 134 columns in the complex, all huge, all intricately carved with hieroglyphics. The temple complex is part of the larger city of Thebes, which is now called Luxor. Karnak and Thebes were declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. The main god here is Amun-Ra. He is depicted here as a being with the body of a lion and the head of a ram. Note the man standing between the paws of the lion. This is a representation of Ramses II.
This is the hypostyle hall. That is a Greek term for a hall made for gods consisting of a double row of enormous columns. These were started by the pharaoh Seti, and subsequent kings added to it. As Derek said, there's 134 giant columns about 30 meters high. That's almost 100 feet tall. They are each intricately carved and decorated, some with color, and while there's been a lot of restoration, there is still a lot in very good condition, even after over 3,000 years. We left Karnak with a lot of really good pictures. It was an interesting spot. I'll put links in the description if you'd like to know more about this very ancient city. The next stop was Valley of the Kings, about an hour from the Karnak Temple Complex. We arrived at the main gate and then took trams up to the entrance. From there, it was a moderate walk to the different tombs.
There are a lot of tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Some are closed to the public, others you need to pay an additional fee to go inside, which include King Tut's and Ramses II's tombs. And then there are several that are open to the public. Our tickets allowed us to visit 3 of the ones open to the public. I did not pay extra to see the ones that required additional fees. If you are planning a trip here, be sure to know which tombs your tickets give you entrance to, and make sure you visit the ones you're interested in. The 3 that I saw were very impressive. Each one had long hallways that led down to the burial chamber and other rooms. All the walls are covered with scenes and hieroglyphics that tell the story of the pharaoh's life and deeds, and also the Book of the Dead, which help him to enter the afterlife. The ceilings are also painted, some with daytime scenes, others with nighttime constellations. The paint is still quite vibrant after 3,000 years. For the most part, there was not any space that was not covered with paintings. Most of the art is done in a plaster, so in some places the plaster has been broken or has fallen off the walls and ceiling. There are a few sarcophaguses, but for the most part the rooms were empty, the artifacts having been moved to various museums, including the Cairo Museum. I cannot imagine the number of people and the amount of time it would have taken not only to dig and quarry the hallways, but also to plaster and paint the walls. Someone must have designed it all to decide what would be written and painted where.
It was then back on the trams, back on the bus, and back to Luxor for dinner at the hotel and bed. The next morning we were up early, heading for the airport to fly back to Cairo. When we landed, we went immediately to the Cairo Museum.
The Cairo Museum is enormous and full of the most amazing artifacts. In addition to King Tut's tomb's treasures, which we cannot photograph, there were hundreds of other interesting pieces, including King Tut's throne, which we could photograph. The mummies and artifacts of King Tut's grandparents, hundreds of tiny buttons, jewelry, masks, statues of various deities, and these interesting pots with the heads of different gods. They were part of the mummification process and were meant to hold the internal organs of the person being mummified.
It is interesting to note that as vast as this museum is, there is one being built that will dwarf the Cairo Museum. We saw it near our hotel in Giza. It is the Grand Egyptian Museum, or GEM, and a gem it will be when it finally opens. The plan is to house all of the treasures of King Tutankhamun finally under one roof. Already it holds an 83-ton, 30-plus foot tall statue of King Ramses II, as well as many, many more statues of kings and gods. Extensive restoration of hundreds of items is ongoing. The opening of the museum has been delayed a number of times, but at this recording it is slated to open in November of 2022. If you are planning a trip to Egypt and this museum is open, they are suggesting you plan 2 days to see it all. And judging from our experience in the Cairo Museum, you will need it. I put links in the description for more information.
Following our time in the Cairo Museum, we made one final stop at a Coptic church in Cairo. The Coptic Church is believed to have been founded by the Apostle Mark in the 1st century, and this particular church in Cairo is called the Cavern Church of Saints Sergius and Bacchus, and is built over the site some believe is where Mary, Joseph, and Jesus stopped when they fled to Egypt from Israel to avoid Herod's killing of the young children. Finally, it was time to head home. We were exhausted, but happy we had had a chance to finally see some of the places in both Egypt and Israel that we had only read about.
That's a wrap for the Israel-Egypt trip. It was pretty amazing. It was really an amazing trip.
We
and
really enjoyed it.
We did, and it was well put together. It was. We appreciated the web tours. They did a great job, and we loved our guides, especially Mo in Israel. He was just amazing.
It was great.
So that is going to do it for Israel and Egypt. It's been a 10-part series. We've been a lot of fun to put this together for you. We appreciate everyone who's watched it and encourage you to share it with your friends and family. You can probably see we're not at home. We're in a hotel room in a mystery location. More about that is coming up next time. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
And give us a thumbs up if you like the video and ring the bell to get notified.
You bet. And until next time, restless friends, you take care.
Bye.